welcome back and moving on to our last segment for today. As we mentioned, we're going to talk more about climate change, and in particular, we're talking about the challenges of the environmental changes taking place all around the world. So today we have the pleasure to have with us Dr. Wafik Noseir. He's a member World Congress for the Environment. First of all, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. First, we'd like to ask you about the main tasks of the World Congress for Environment.
Yes, sure. Good morning for Egypt, and I wish that the environment for Egypt will be better all the time. The World Congress is a congress for scientists, not for governments. So the members are gathered from all over the world discussing the world problems, especially for the environment, regardless politics, regardless economics, and any other issues. So that's mainly the World Congress.
Talking about the challenges you were discussing right now, before we talk about Egypt, let's take a look at the real challenges around us.
Yeah, the world now is facing a important problem. I believe it's the main cause of all the environmental issues that we are facing nowadays, which is the population increase. In 200 years, we have increased from 1 billion to approximately now 8 billions. So 7 billions in 200 years, where the humans were on this planet for thousands or nearly million of years. But in 200 years only, there was a very huge increase in population. This affected the world environment in many aspects. So there are a lot of environmental problems that I would like to mention some of it so that we can understand the problem. Of course, as you mentioned in the beginning, is the climate change. Now there is a very important debate. Scientists now have divided. Since 2015, where the world gathered in a very important summit in Paris and agreed that there is a global warming. And this global warming, as we all know, will affect the whole weather and many aspects of the world. But nowadays there is a debate because a lot of countries withdraw from this agreement, starting of USA and Russia and Turkey and many other countries. So there is a debate now whether it's global warming or global cooling. So why I am mentioning global cooling? Because just recently there were researches talking that the sun is going to cool down. So this due to observation from NASA and the European Space Agencies, seeing dark spots in the sun. So they predicted that 2020 will start to see some cooling of the sun. While for sure there is a global warming. So the main question now, are we going to an ice age? So the answer is no, because the global warming will mitigate the global cooling somehow. So it has benefits now. But as we are facing nowadays, because this is in future, so we don't know if it will be global cooling or not, but due to the global warming, there are many problems. The first problem that the UN is discussing now is the coral reefs. The coral reefs, especially in Australia, they have observed that it's dying in huge amounts by changing its color to white. So this means that it's going to the process of dying. This is a very serious problem to the ocean. Due to the rise in temperature, the ocean temperature, and also because of the greenhouse gases, which is called green, which is not, of course, it's not green at all, but it's called greenhouse gases because the effect of the global warming happens due to a shade or a cover of these gases to the planet, such as the greenhouse that we use in agriculture to grow certain plants by raising its temperature. So that's why it's called greenhouse gas. These greenhouse gases absorbed by the ocean water, so acidification happens to the water. This acidification causes the death of these coral
And to what extent
reefs.
the death of the coral reefs affects the ecosystem in the oceans?
The coral reefs is a sign for all the creatures in the ocean because it's a food cycle, and this gives us a sign that there's going to be a very huge change to the ocean life in general. Okay. The second issue, I have 5 issues that the UN just mentioned. The plastic pollution. The plastic pollution is a very important issue nowadays. People started now to neglect the one-use shopping bags and promoting the use of sustainable plastics or papers that it can be, it's degradable. The problem of the plastic is undegradable. So if you leave it for ages, it will stay as it is. And of course, in the ocean, the creatures eat these plastics, so it goes into our food cycle and it returns to us again, and it causes a lot of health problems, of course. The other thing, the third thing, is the environment and migration. Due to the global warming, lots of people has to immigrate from their land because of desertification and lack of water and lack of food. So this makes migration happens, and we have seen these issues lots of time. And the wildlife, it will gonna be changed. Wildfire for forests, it happens a lot. And the water supply, the fresh water supply. This is a very important problem, especially for Egypt, and we'll talk about it later.
Yes, let's discuss the challenges right now in Egypt.
Yeah. Let me talk about Egypt in a little bit, because as we speak now, 2 million people were evacuated in Japan.
Yes.
Due to the floods. These floods happened, didn't happen in 3 decades.
Yes.
Okay, so it gives us an idea that it's not illusions, the global warming, it's not a fake.
We started to see and to feel the climate change, all of us.
Yeah, of course.
So what are the causes of floods in Japan? It's rising water levels or what?
Yeah, these extremes happen. Yeah, it's rise of water levels, this is one thing. And also the extreme in the climate. as we have noticed even in Egypt, is that we have floods, which didn't happen before. These floods just happen suddenly and with a lot of amount of rainwater. So extremes happen to the climate. Cool weather, very cool weather sometime, very hot weather sometime, and these floods and tsunamis and hurricanes. Hurricanes happen especially in Asia and America with a huge number that they haven't seen before in ages. So this is what is happening to the environment. But the environment, let me tell you, it's affecting the economy and it's affecting the politics. So let me give you an example about what is happening now. Now there is the NATO summit. Okay? Germany have been known by the first country that it will go into the green energy. And they have abandoned most of their nuclear plant even, and started with the green energy like solar and wind and many other aspects. But despite this fact, Germany have signed an agreement with Russia to build a gas pipeline, and 60% of its energy is going to depend on Russia. So in NATO, now just yesterday, all the countries, starting off USA, complained about this and said, if you depend on another country with 60% of your energy, then your politics decision will be affected by this issue. So the environment nowadays is affecting politics. So this is a very important issue.
To what extent it is
that
also affecting the development in different countries?
Sorry?
Development. It's affecting development as well.
Ah, yes, of course. As I told you, that there are some countries and islands will immigrate. Lots of people, some islands will vanish at all from the maps. So it's affecting, of course, the development of the country. Let's discuss Egypt, for example, and we have also, we have nowadays the dam of Asubia Dam. So the water lake will be affected a lot. And this, of course...
So, sir, if we go back to the Congress for Environment, finally, as we are going to wrap up our edition now, tell us more about future plans for the Congress for Environment to solve problems. But in 1 minute, please.
Yes. We try as much as possible to affect the decision makers. But we are not the people who are taking the decisions. But as a scientists, we think of and we predict of the future for the planet in general. And we try to put in hand of the decision, recommendations of the decision makers to take actions. But this is not successful all the time. We have seen, as I just mentioned to you, the summit agreement in 2015, and this didn't succeed.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you, Professor Wafik Noseir, member of the World Congress for Environment. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you.
And with this, we come to the end of our breakfast show for today. Thank you all for joining us. You were in the company of Shireen Adel and Nashwa Rashid. And stay tuned for more coming up on NILE TV International.